Well, hello. For all of you that are joining, near and afar, back by popular demand is our rewind. And also back by popular demand is my co-host of the entire hour. Tony, say hello to said fans who wanted you back.
Hello, hello.
So excited you're here. Um, for those that are home in your like matching jammies and sipping cocoa, I want to say a shout out that we're unbelievably jealous. We're all in the office today, and we just wanted to have a way to gather to say hello to friends and family that we love and don't see every day. We want to wish everyone a very post Merry Christmas. We are now on the third day of Hanukkah. So, for all of our folks that are lighting candles on the menorah, we want to say Happy Hanukkah. I think we're smack dab in the middle of Kwanzaa, so there's a lot going on. So happy holidays to everyone. We're just so thrilled that you're here. We know that we've got some amazing Freedom Rider teachers who have joined us. Some of our family members. Special shout out to two bright stars, Megan and Stacy, Freedom Rider teachers extraordinaire. But Tony, how does it feel to be back as my co-host? You did such a good job on Giving Tuesday that we lost you back.
Well, I love it. I love it. It's nice to come in and just kind of knowing that I'm like coming into like everybody's living rooms. Like you said, people are in their jammies. They're doing cocos. They're still playing with their like gifts from Christmas. So I'm glad that we can come in and like spread a little joy, do a little recap, let everybody know what we've been up to. So very excited.
Speaking of games from Christmas, we had an epic Christmas party just for the staff, and you were one of the winners of the marshmallow game. Did you did you bring that competitive spirit today?
Absolutely. I didn't know how good I was at inhaling marshmallows with a straw and then putting them from one plate to another, but apparently it's a secret talent that I have.
This is
So,
very serious.
yeah.
Did you? There was also the L. You were a reindeer with your hooves trying to gather snowflakes, which were marshmallows as well. You did really well with that one as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. That one was just all adrenaline. And then we built the gingerbread houses and I built a gingerbread apartment complex on 10th Street.
I
So
love
that was pretty fun.
it. Well, we still talk about when we talk about your competitive spirit when we had our symposium, which we're going to get into in a moment. You were very clever during our guacamole challenge. My stepmom to this day talks about how you went to the restaurant and got coarse salt and limes. Nobody else had salt or limes, but you got coarse salt and limes and tried to win said guacamole challenge.
Look, they gave us a certain amount of ingredients, and those ingredients didn't meet my standards of a traditional Mexican guacamole. So they gave me table salt and lemons, and everybody knows you don't use table salt and lemons. You use lime and coarse salt. So I ran to the bar. I might have convinced the bartender to let me take a few items. I don't know if I was technically disqualified or not, but I thought it ended up pretty tasty.
Well, I think that summarizes what I love about freedom riders. Freedom riders think outside the box. They color outside the lines. Clearly, you question authority because it wasn't my rules, but it was the Hotel Maya's rules. But I love your strategy. It was perfection. So we're gonna try to play by the rules today. We sat down, you and I, and tried to figure out what was our top three moments of the year. And ironically, you and I came up with two very different lists of top three. So we're going to do a mashup. It's actually going to be the top six. My three favorites, your three favorites, and then three of our favorite podcasts. So the beautiful thing is, if you see yourself on the screen at some point, shout out in the chat room. If you want to continue to come back this afternoon, we're going to do this again. So we were hopeful with an earlier time zone, we could get our friends and family on the East Coast or in other countries. But if you find yourself with an extra hour today at 4 p.m. Pacific time, come back again. We'll try to jazzify it. But what I'd love to do, Tony, is I want to dive in to our top three collectively. So it's actually our top six. And the first one that you chose, it was probably my number four. But the number one for you was when we went to the Museum of Tolerance and in February to celebrate our 30th anniversary of going to the Museum of Tolerance. And all of our teachers that are in the chat room know that we've been going back to the museum year after year after year. And behind my voice, you're going to see some of these beautiful photos. So what we did is we took over their theater, and you freedom riders brought the movie to life. And it was just such a powerful moment. There's you and Michael Philpott. I just saw Maddie. There is Shanette. So as we see the slideshow, there is Shanita. Oops, I reversed it. That's Shanita. The other one was Shanette. See, I'll never know. I have to look at the tongue. How do you tell the two apart? How do you tell our beautiful twins apart? Oh, that was a question. How do you tell them apart?
Oh, how do I tell them apart? I wait till they start talking. I don't assume anything until they start talking, and then once they talk, then I could tell.
Okay.
I can't explain it, but once they start talking, and then I'm like, all right, you're Shanita, and then I remember the clothes that they have on, so they don't match as much as they used to.
Well, I've been told a little secret. I think the earrings are dead giveaways, and Shanita has a tongue ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I could do it. But sometimes don't do the clothes because they'll do to you what they do to me. They'll change.
Yeah.
They'll change midday. It's a twin swap.
You know what I've done? You know what I've done too is when they both come in, I'll call one of them and see whose phone rings, and then I'm like I'll call Shanita, and then Shanita's phone will be like, all right, that's Shanita.
Because we spent several days with them in Hesperia at Encore, and there were moments I have to really concentrate. They are so identical. That is strong DNA.
Yeah. They think I'm calling them to see like where they're at. I'm just calling them to see which one's which. Sorry guys, I just put the secret out there. I apologize.
A very good trick. So with all of those beautiful faces, Latia and Maddie and Narada, we had Freedom Riders, Freedom Rider honey bunnies, so they're significant others, and Freedom Rider kids, along with other family members joining us at the Museum of Tolerance. And we ended the day with all of you on the stage. What was that like for you? The first time you went, you were all of 14. And do not do the math. We don't need to talk about ages now. But 30 years later to go back and be on the stage with friends and family and those that you hold most dear. What was that like for you to be there in a very different capacity, not as just somebody going through, but somebody on that sacred stage?
Well, I mean, like you said, it was that the incredible part is that it was 30 years ago, and we were kids. We were 14, and we went through it, and that was one of my, I think, like life changing field trips. Like I think I was different. I was a different person than on the bus ride in. On the bus ride out, I was a completely different person. And now that we're on the other side, when we go there, we're kind of like docents. They'll ask us like, "Hey, we got a group of kids here. Can you come in and say a few words to them real quick?" And we'll come in and we talk to them. And and we have the Holocaust survivors. Every time we take teachers, we always have a Holocaust survivor there present to kind of to bring the experience to life. And now we're bringing kids in through grants and things. We'll have a bus, and we'll bus the kids in, and then we'll get to kind of relive it through the eyes of those kids who are going through it for the first time. And it's just so incredible that it still has that impact. And I feel like, especially now, like the kids now really need that impact more than ever with with social media and just like the distance that they have now from these things. Everything now is like a short little 10-second video clip, and it's not real anymore. And the museum like makes it real, I think. So it brings everything to life, and it's incredible.
I love it. I love that you now are a trained docent for the Traveling Anne Frank exhibit. You and Sue Ellen have the ability when schools want to bring the traveling exhibit in Southern California that you and Sue are both trained docents. So to go from being someone in a museum to being part of a traveling exhibit with Anne Frank LA is pretty amazing. So I'm glad that was your number one of your top three. I have many top threes, but one of my top threes is graduation. So I want to have that on the reel so everybody can see. For those that don't know, look at all these gorgeous graduates. We started a program with our partnership with Waldorf University, and part of the collaboration was we were going to create a class or two. How about a master's rendition of freedom writerology? And so all of these amazing freedom writers signed up to be almost like guinea pigs. We were gonna create classes, have them get the credit to create the classes, and then lo and behold, set everyone free that wanted to, and off they went. We have our first 4 undergraduate bachelor's degrees and our first 4 graduate degrees. That is Shanette. I know that is Shanette. So for this slideshow, there's sweet Maddie. Maddie was one of the bachelor recipients. As their faces come up, well, Herschel just landed his dream job. Bunny was one of the MBA recipients with Glitter Bob, a freedom writer teacher. Kimberly Morrison was a master's recipient, as was AD, Adriana Flores. Tanisha also received her master's. Kimberly cannot be stopped. She is now working on her doctorate degree. That was pretty exciting. And a lot of our bachelor recipients, they want to go back. There's Dr. Kedziora Martin Rex getting the Excellence in Education Award in a fabulous blue bag. You know what that means for all you Tiffany aficionados. We got in the most gorgeous crystal apple from Tiffany's. But there's my fabulous graduates. And I want to be selfish and say because it was a lot of work. It was a lot of toil. There's still several freedom writers who are in the program who have yet to finish. There are some of our scholarship recipients, Sonia, Narada, Maddie, and Ramon. They're incredible children, got a scholarship. So, Tony, you were in the audience. There was cowbells, there was beach balls, there was noisemakers, the John Chu and Friends band, the president, Glitter Bob, there to actually officiate. What was it like to be in the audience watching 8 of your brothers and sisters obtain this incredible goal?
I'm so proud of them. Because like school is hard, and then school plus work is harder. And being a grown adult with responsibilities, with kids, with work, with life, and then going back to school. And sometimes we'd be at a school or something with the twins or with one of them, and they would just kind of casually mention like, oh yeah, when I get home I'm gonna, I got a couple hours of homework I gotta do, and this is and that, and I'm like, yo, it's gonna be like 10, 11 o'clock when you get home. And the twins will be like, yeah, well, hey, it is what we got to do it, and yeah, they'd be up 2, 3 in the morning doing homework, and then up at 5 or 6 with the kids and stuff. So I know how hard it was for them. So I'm just super proud of them.
Oh, I love that. I just found out that sweet Ty joined. So Ty, stick around because we've got some fun photos of you in one of my top 3 of the year. I also want to do a sweet shout out to Joey. Joey in Mexico just donated to our end of the year cause. So if you're inspired by the work that we do, it's the season for people to donate. We've been calling it 30 for 30. So if you're inspired and you want to donate any kind of variation of funds, but especially 30 for 30, if you have $30 and you don't go to Starbucks for a few days, we would love to throw it into our kitty for all the good work that we do. So we're going to go out of order, you and I, but in order in a linear fashion. We gathered our amazing Freedom Writer family for a Freedom Writer Symposium. and two of my top three for the year happen to be at the same event. So I'm gonna go out of order, Tony. The next one I want to celebrate, for me, one of my top three for the year was celebrating the cutest girl in the room. She's cute as a button, Renee Firestone, turning 100. And we thought, how do we celebrate someone who's turning 100? Well, we bring in Johnny Ace Palmer, the Magic Castle's #1 magician, and we put on a show. Little Renee showed up in her leather pants, like the true fashionista that she is. And those little baby chicks came out of these little yellow fuzzy balls. Oh my God, look at that bunny. That's a real bunny. Johnny Ace pulled out a real bunny and a dove from fire. I'm telling you, we were screaming. We were losing our minds. That cake was actually a real cake. He didn't make that cake. But he made the bunny appear, and he made the dove appear, and he made the baby chicks. And I think we just watched Renee in her sassy leather pants on the stage giggle for a half an hour. It was magic. She missed all that because of the Holocaust, and so we've known her for 30 years. Our first visit to the Museum of Tolerance introduced us to this beautiful woman. Talk about that moment when Renee walked in like she was queen of the ball. Because let's face it, she is queen of the ball. Sat on that stage, and suddenly, poof, we're bunnies and all kinds of furry and fuzzy things. What was it like for you in the audience?
It was amazing because, like you said, she's 100. And like to God, just to be alive at 100, let alone um excited and talkative and walking and giggling, like you said, like just and being the center of attention is just incredible, especially like as long as we've known her. She was one of our first Holocaust survivors. She was in the movie, for those of you who remember, and she's been part of our family since we were kids. Like, she remembers us when we were kids. And so it was an amazing time to be able to show our love and affection for her, when she turned 100. So
I love it. Don't be jealous, but I'm going to have lunch with her and her daughter Claire on Sunday. We have a standing date to go to Factor's Deli, and so I always get to sit next to her and share my pastrami sandwich with her and onion rings. She's got a really good appetite, man. She puts it away. I was impressed. We were at Factor's a couple months ago, and I just kept like, sneaking her food, and she kept eating it. So I was thrilled. Okay, your next top three. This was something we had done with Freedom Writers. It's a partnership we did with a nonprofit called Sense of Home, and we loved it so much that for our June Institute of Teacher Training, this is the first time we've ever done it. We might have to do it again. But the teachers we brought in June, many of them work in schools and districts and a county that focuses on foster youth. And so this Sense of Home invites people to an incredible warehouse. And then we get to put together, from concept to completion, a home for a young foster youth who is termed out. And you'll see these are our Freedom Rider captains, our Freedom Rider teachers from Riverside County, and all of you being like Rosie the Riveter, building couches, beds, planting succulents, finding the perfect silverware to go in the kitchen. So we stage it, and then after it's all staged, we have it delivered to the actual apartment. So this is kind of the staging area. So we're doing all the hard work. Tony, this was your choice, and this was a hard one because I really wanted this one as well. So tell me about Sense of Home. You were out the blazing sun, crushing it. You guys were just building and building. And after you would build a bed, even if it wasn't a bed for the house that we were staging, you guys wanted to get ahead of it and build beds for other people while the ladies were running around and finding pillows and furniture. So tell me about the squad outside who was building and planting. Here, everyone's writing a sweet little note on a heart to put into a beautiful vase. So the beautiful young woman who actually is a Freedom Rider fan. She got Freedom Rider material, but she had gone to Wilson years ago and is a Freedom Rider fan. So what was that like for you, Tony, um, trying to bring this beautiful palace to life?
Um, I feel like a lot of times people think of foster kids as little kids, as children, as little kids that need to be adopted. I feel like they forget that they grow up. And when they age out of the foster care system, they don't have parents. They're foster kids. They don't have parents, to do all the little things and all the little help, that parents give them and stuff. And a lot of times they don't have a big family or a lot of people to lean on. So even if they are able to get, say, an apartment, that the state is helping them get, they don't have anything in it. A lot of them end up sleeping on the carpet, with a blanket in the corner, and and they don't have the means to furnish an apartment. Like, it's expensive to furnish a home, and these kids just don't have the resources. And being growing up a foster kid, even once they become adults, that still affects them for years and years to come, for the rest of their life. So, the being able to be a part of a sense of home and helping these kids, get kind of reintroduced to introduced to adulthood and society and all that, and helping them with all these little things that we forget about, and just the simple fact of, like, building a bed and building furniture and stuff like that. It's such a huge thing for them, and it's so, like, rewarding and inspirational for us. We were outside. It was hot, you know.
Ty just put in the chat room. He said it was so hot. I loved it.
Yeah,
You
it was really hot, but we were.
no joke. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Ty and Narada as our three male captains. You guys were committed. I don't think uh, you stopped until the buses came to get us. And our little Rosie the Riveter, she didn't want to get on the bus. But I just love, you guys were sweating buckets as very committed captains. But I love that you guys, as a group of, like, a boy band, you were like, we're going to build every last bed and structure. And you guys, literally, the sense of home employees were, like, blown away with your sweat and your toil, happy tears, all the good stuff. So would you recommend that we do it again?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's such an amazing feeling to be able to help out these kids.
Amazing, amazing. I want to do a couple quick shots. I had mentioned that Toei had donated, and then I talked about 30 for 30, and then Toei donated a second time, 30 for 30. And Toei, once was enough. Twice is very, very sweet. Oh my God. So Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for being so incredibly generous for us today. I didn't say that for you to donate, but I'm knocked out that you did. I also want to do a shout out to Nicholas McCarthy, who has joined us. And Nicholas McCarthy said that the Freedom Writer's Diary book changed my life. Oh, so Nicholas, let us know where you're at. If you have a Freedom Writer teacher, how you found us. Folks in the chat room will probably spoil you with a little bit of love, but we'd love to know where you're from. And thank you for joining us today. And come back at 4 o'clock. We'd love to see your sweet face and do a shout out for you as well. Okay, Tony, our next of the top three, we're going to go out of order again, but I wanted to kind of go chronologically. Your next pick in your top three was, we added something very clever to the symposium. And we loved it so much that we've added it to our institute. And we have a new structure for institutes. So for all of you teachers that have gone through, when our old model was a Friday through a Tuesday, unless you went through over Labor Day, but it was always kind of our structure for like 18 years, for like forever. We're coming up on our 20th year soon, but that was kind of always our structure. We start on a Friday, we end on a Tuesday. This year, we changed things up and we added Sense of Home to our June. And then we added a different schedule, a Wednesday through a Sunday. And so on Sunday, the last day of our institute this year and the last day of our symposium this year, we added a good old fashioned scavenger hunt with a twist. So I want the slideshow to play behind us. Oh my God. We give Freedom Riders and Freedom Rider teachers a mission. All the fabulous folks you're going to see in red are original Freedom Riders. All the folks that are not wearing red t-shirts are our newly minted Freedom Rider teachers. They were in groups. They had a mission. They had to come up with a name for their group. They had to go find 10 sites. They had to record said sites with photographic evidence. They even got to come up with blooper reels. And then in each of the different sites, we added a twist. And so, Tony, knowing that you're competitive, talk about these scavenger hunts and how hysterical they are. How hysterical they are.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's such a great team building thing because everybody starts off all like quiet, nice, and reserved. And then after a couple of different spots, we're like literally running around and yelling and screaming when we start acting like children. And it's fantastic. We just went around the property trying to find like different places, different places to take the photos at. We came up with team names. For some of the pictures we use like filters, like funny filters and stuff. So it was such a great like experience all around. And after we were done in like that time frame in those 2 hours, I feel like we became a lot closer. We got like a week's worth of interaction in like 2 hours. It was
Oh
great.
my God. And I love, we had boas, we had hats, we had sunglasses, we had no. I love that. Oh, there's one with a filter. I love Ty. Ty was with the captain clearly. He had some really fun Ty-isms, some Ty-isms. They were, and then everyone also got to choose their own song for the July Institute. So when we were showing the slideshow, everyone had a slideshow they had to put together. The slideshow also had their own theme song. Hysterical. So what was your favorite of all the places that you went? There was the pool, there was the little soundstage area, there was Firebridge. What was your favorite place to go and think of a fun photo?
I think the fire pit maybe because we kind of jumped in the fire pit and, and
Sans fire. It was in the middle of the day, so sans fire.
there was no fire and there was no security. So, being the Long Beach kids that we're like, well, let's go in the fire pit and then we'll pretend like we're getting burned with the marshmallows. So that was pretty fun.
Ty, your co-captain, just said he loves a new schedule. So I think as we're plotting and planning and scheming for this June and July Institute, I think the scavenger hunt is here to stay. I think the new 5-day model is here to stay. I think the Freedom Riders, we're gonna come up with stations for hydration. We know that you guys were running and sweating, so we want to keep you guys hydrated, which I think is hilarious. But when you give Brian and I a task, the Hotel Maya was so impressed with our scavenger hunt that they want to borrow the idea. They love us and they let us get away with murder there, but they saw what we did to their idea and then kind of and our queen Angelica said it was so amazing. But I think they planted the seed. We decided that we would ask for forgiveness and not permission, and we just went a little buck wild. And then when you add a little bit of Brian and sleep deprivation and an Amazon budget, oh my God, then the fun really starts because Brian's like, let's add a little bit of this, let's add a little bit of this. So kudos to Brian for taking what could have been just a dull scavenger hunt and adding some jazz hands and Freedom Rider-izing it. Someone can let me know what Nicholas just put in the chat. I want to do a special shout out after my next top three. So thank you, Nicholas, for listening, reporting for duty, and giving me something to shout out about you. I love it. Um, so that was your top three, Tony. You had the Museum of Tolerance, you had the Sense of Home, and the Scavenger Hunt. My last of the top three, believe it or not, was something that we've been doing for 30 years. It's 30 years with a twist. It's our Toast for Change. And what we found out is that the makers of the delicious sparkling apple cider happened to be in the same city that we were going to go and do an event at a school. So we got a little gumption. Our amazing colleague Emily sent a letter to the CEO and said, we've been using Martinelli's for 30 years. Every teacher we've trained, every freedom writer, and when we have the honor and pleasure to go to schools, we resuscitate it. And so Martinelli's has officially become our partner. We were just at their holiday party, which was amazing. And in our office, we now have, they paid us in juice. We have 1,344 bottles. I take that back. We had, operative word, 1,344 bottles. But as you can see in the last few months, some of those 1,344 bottles have gone missing because we've taken them to schools and into our training. So you and the CEO Gunn have kind of a little love affair, a little bromance going on, Tony. We just saw them last week at their huge holiday party. Talk about this amazing official partnership with Martinelli's and how we get to do Toast for Change everywhere. Like everywhere we go, we get to do a Toast for Change.
You know, they when we told them that we've been doing the Toast for Change with kids for 30 years, they were blown away. They couldn't believe it. And then they can't believe like the impact of something that is can be so insignificant to one person is so huge to a kid in a classroom. Because a lot of times for the kids, like the Toast for Change defines them, and it kind of sets down the groundwork of what they're going to become. And we, you know, we were telling them that these kids, after they toast, they keep those little Martinelli's cups, and they always want the bottles because they want to take the bottles home. They say to like take them to their mom, you know, or to their parents because they want to put flowers in them and put them up on the table because they think the bottle's so pretty, you know. And a lot of times we do things without knowing the effect that we have, and I think that's what was happening with them. You know, they have this incredible effect on these kids, you know, everywhere, and like they just weren't aware of this. And so now they're blown away. They love it. They love seeing all the stuff that we do with the kids. They love seeing the pictures and the videos. They can't get enough. And it's such a inspiration and motivation for them to do what they do, because it's not just juice. You know, it's not just juice. It's a life changing thing, and especially coming from such a great company. You know, it's
We got to sit with John Martinelli
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah.
Amazing.
And he was upset that he couldn't hang out with us last time we were there. Like they're just so cool, so down to earth people. When you talk about like good CEOs and good owners of companies doing amazing things and trying to change the world, like that's the example. They are the standard.
Absolutely. Well, I love that I think they're 156 years. We're only 30, but they're 156 years. And we're now part of their family, which is amazing. Amazing. I want to read something that sweet little Nicholas put in. And you know what we're going to do after I read this. I know you know me so well. This is from our new friend Nicholas. He said, I'm just a huge fan. When I asked, like, how'd you hear about us? I read the book on my own, and I'm disabled with cerebral palsy, but I don't let that define who I am as a person. I just try to spread love that you've shown in room 203. Oh, so my sweet friend, we had an amazing young man named Todd, who was a freedom writer. Sadly, he's no longer with us, and he was a warrior. Oh my God, Todd was a warrior. So in Todd's honor, and in your honor of just being such an amazing young man, we're going to ask you to send us your address. And not only am I going to send you an autographed copy of the Freedom Writers Diary, we're also going to send you our new book, Dear Freedom Writer. So you're going to get two. If Toey can donate twice to us, then we can donate twice to you, sweet young man. So if you can put in the chat room what your address is, Nicholas, we're gonna get you those two books. I will make sure that we sign it. So honored and so thankful that you are part of this journey with us today. Come back at 4 and I'll brag about you. I also want to brag a little bit about Ty, because a lot of those photos you guys just saw had Ty. And Ty said, the toast I made as a student came to fruition. This toast, this toast is a catalyst to take control of your life. And it's always impactful to see students toast to excel in and out of the classroom. And Nicholas, the reason I wanted to read Ty's wonderful quote is this is Ty right here on the cover of the book that you're going to get. This is Tony, who's my co-host today, on the cover of this book. So you went from not knowing any freedom writers to having two brothers from other mothers. So I'll make sure that you get a little signature from both of these young men. I'm trying to write my own book to help others for people like myself. Well, Nicholas, start, do, create, and put it out in the world, because I think once the freedom writers were able to start writing, it was cathartic. So since you're going to give a book to a young man who wants to be an author, Tony, what would you say as someone who was an author, who is an author, not was, you are pretty much in the present, you are an author.
That we all have a story to tell, and that's amazing. I'm super proud of you. We all have a story to tell, and a lot of times we think that our story only affects us, but our story can affect so many people. We have no idea how many people it can affect or how many people can relate until we actually put it out there and talk about it.
Oh, I love it. Well, if you are inspired by the gift that keeps giving, whenever I come back, Sue is delegated sadly as our bean counter, and I always come back from an event and she'll be like, "How many books did you give away?" And I think I'm Oprah, not with cars, but with books, huh, Tony? And I always have to think. It's like coming home and like, okay, I have to tell Sue. I always pay for them, right, Sue? I'm always different, but I'm always writing checks to my own foundation because I'm always giving away books. I wish they grew on trees, but I always come back and I settle up. But you're always with me, Tony, and you do too.
I
Don't
do
be
too.
my fault. Uh, you and I were just at a juvenile hall a couple days before Christmas. Oh my God. Talk about the boys who had the books at the juvenile hall. Oh my God. Was it magic?
Yeah, these kids, they're in juvenile halls, and they made mistakes, but they're trying, and they're outside building sheds. They're studying, they're reading, they're trying to get their diplomas. Some of them are working on their AAs, like in the facility. Um, these kids are incredible, and we learned that if you're a kid in a juvenile hall, you watch a lot of movies, and one of the movies that you watch a million times is Freedom Riders. So the kids, they loved it. They knew every single scene, every single character. They've seen it a million times, and so they thought it was incredible that we took time out of our day to go hang out with them, and they just wanted
We went to two juvenile halls in
to.
December, which was
Mhm.
amazing. One
Yeah,
in
and
California and one in Apple Valley.
and when we
Uh,
gave him the book, it's like we could have. It was like we gave him a brand new car or like a Rolex. It's just like they couldn't believe it. They thought they had to give him back. We're like, no, this is yours. This is your book. You keep it. So.
I love it. Our amazing Freedom Rider teacher, Roger Gabori, who's in upstate New York, just wrote, Nicholas, we have a fellow Freedom Rider teacher who has cerebral palsy, and my daughter, who is as a high school senior, also has CP. She wants to write as well and keeps writing. So I love that Roger remembered our amazing Freedom Writer teacher in Florida and is honoring his daughter. So we believe in writing and sharing and telling and paying it forward. I love when you guys enter the chat room and announce yourselves. Julie is in the house. So if you are a Freedom Writer teacher or a Freedom Writer or anyone and you're just watching, the chat room is a lot more fun than Tony and I. Well, Tony, you're fun. But if you are watching, make sure that you announce yourself so I could do a little shout out. We can spread the love. If you are inspired to donate 30 for 30 for our 30th anniversary, that just allows me to give away more books, right, Sue Ellen? I can just give away more books without you giving me the stink eye. I want to switch gears. Tony, I asked you to pick 3 of your favorite podcasts. And you and Narada should know, because you and Narada were the first 2 Freedom Writers to, and he just joined. Oh my goodness. That I spoke that into existence. I want to kind of go off script for a second, Tony. I was in my fields on Christmas Day, and I was at my my dad's house. As you guys know, I lost my dad years ago, and enjoying Christmas with my stepmom. And my dad loved sports and football. He was a professional baseball player. So we turned on the Chiefs and the Steeler game. And you know where I'm going to go. I immediately thought of Narada and his bright yellow Nikes that he wears with such magic. And I just thought I gotta reach out to my sweetie pie, because when you're in the club that nobody wants to be in, when you don't have a parent, holidays are hard. You just get all sentimental and emotional and you reminisce. I'm in that club. Some of our Freedom Writer family is in that club. And sadly, Narada joined that club last year. And I just wanted to reach out to him in honor of the holiday and his beautiful mother and the Steelers. They were robbed. And the response that you sent me, Narada, I actually read it out loud to my stepmom, and we both wept. It was the best gift that didn't even need a bow. It didn't even need to go under a tree. So I want to say that to you. That was the best gift I got this year for the holidays, and I thank you. But you and Tony, you're like the OGs. You guys sat down, and on the very first time we were going to interview Freedom Writers, both of you guys went so deep and so hard that you set the bar really hard, both of you. And you're always like neck and neck with listens. And so what I wanted to do for this year is have Tony pick a few of his favorites and to celebrate them. And so he may have stacked the deck because he did choose his best friend since middle school. But I'm excited to show this one because we have not shown this yet. This is a podcast of your best friend, Donald. And you guys have been friends for the better part of forever. You guys finish each other's sentences, you dot each other's I's, cross each other's T's. So you have not seen this yet, which I'm very excited. You listened to the podcast, but you chose Donald as one of your favorite podcasts to listen to. So now you get to have the honor and the privilege of watching the interview come to life. So let's check out one of 3 of your favorite podcasts this year, Tony. It's so funny because as you Freedom Writers get mad at me, I'm very trusting, and you've all been there to help me when I have been too trusting and something goes missing. But whenever you guys are around, I feel so oddly at peace and safe because I know you guys have my back. And you're so gentle, but I know that you could mess somebody up, right? I mean, that's kind of the word on the street, like, don't mess with Donald. I've never seen that side of you. I know it's there because I've heard. But do you think that goes back to being a kid being bullied? Do you think that goes back to your dad? Where does that, don't mess with Donald?
Some of it does come from my dad. And a lot of it was just from being bullied. I got tired of being the victim. And unfortunately, I got good at violence. And you can argue about the nurture of that, but my father was a very violent guy, my birth father, and he was a boxer in the Navy. And one of the things growing up and being violent was like, well, I wanted to be better at him than something, and that was the only thing that I could actually identify with him was I actually know how to fight, and that was a fruitless pursuit.
When did you realize it was frivolous? When did you realize that I'm my own person? I don't need to be my dad and go through life swinging.
In high school, like I don't know, it something about being with such a diverse group of people made me realize like none of these people are picking on me, none of them are judging me, and especially not because like I'm a white kid that speaks Spanish or I'm a white kid that says I'm Mexican. They accepted me, and at some point I also realized that I like my
I like his brain too. Um, so thank you for picking Donald. And for those of you that know Donald hates public speaking. He's nervous that his face gets red, which it does, but he's so darn good. So talk about your boy. Talk about how the two of you, all things Freedom Writer, the two of you have experienced together.
Um, yeah, I mean, we known each other since middle school, and like, I know a lot of people grow up with the same friends. You know, since elementary school, when you grow up in the suburbs, you don't move, and you have the same friends your whole life. But for the ghetto kids who move, you know, every year or every 6 months, it's hard to keep friends like that. You know, and it's incredible that we've been friends this entire time. And one thing about Donald is he's Mexican, right? His name is Donald McPhee, but he's freaking Mexican, and he grew up in Wilmington, so of course the kid's gonna fight every day, you know. And so he got good at it. And you know, when we were in school, his Spanish was pretty darn good, so he would just kind of whip out his Spanish every now and then and just freak people out, you know. But that's the whole point of being the Freedom Rider family is regardless of what you are or where you came from or what you look like, we all accepted each other like brothers and sisters, you know. And I mean, we lived together at one point. You know, he was my roommate for years, and I always kind of, when we do the little house game in the institutes, I always jokingly draw the ugly blue apartment building that we lived on 10th Street, you know. And a lot of the Freedom Riders know that building. Like you all came there. You're all looking for parking. Like, you know, like everybody knows that building. Um, but you know, to kind of get to where we are now and be adults and kind of have gone through all this stuff now, it's just incredible to like look back on it and just realize that like we're still close. We're still friends.
Love it. I love it. Well, the last two that you chose, I think you chose them for a really symbolic reason. They are sisters, and they're sisters going through some real hardship right now. You chose Tanya and Kanya. So I want to show their podcast, and then I want to talk about why you chose them afterwards. But before I do, I wanted to say, sweet Nicholas, we have fallen in love with you, Nicholas. Nicholas wrote, I can't thank you all for the love. Oh, we can't thank you enough for just being a part of this. So thank you for the love. Speaking of love, I love when love springs eternal, and we've got Ty and Marquita together. Ty and Marquita met at an institute, Freedom Rider teacher and Freedom Rider. They're now engaged. So kudos to both of them. Such a sweet video we all received of the proposal on the knee and the ring amongst the twinkly lights. I believe that you are best man, Tony, and I appreciate. So it's going to be one heck of a party when those two lovebirds get married next year. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait to be there and be a part of that. So let's check out Tanya first. Then we're going to check out Kanya. They're both very different interviews. We interviewed Tanya before she revealed something. That happened a couple days after. And we interviewed Kanya in the throes of this information we're going to share. So I love that you chose those two together. But let's check out Tanya's interview first. Then we'll check out Kanya's. I mentioned earlier that I was and am in awe of your mother. Where does that strength come from? How do you think your mom became who she became?
My mom is a cycle breaker, and that is such a powerful, difficult role. It takes deliberate thought and mindfulness. My mom was abused and neglected and mistreated growing up, and she never was told that she was beautiful or that she would amount to anything. She was expected to get pregnant at 16 and drop out. And she moved out at, I want to say 17 or 18. And to this day, my mom will tell you that she doesn't think she's pretty because her mom never told her that. So she decided, I'm going to be the exact opposite. My daughter will never experience what I experienced. So my mom gave me hugs. She never got hugs from her mom. My mom told me I was smart and capable. She never heard that from her mom. My mom and dad told me I was beautiful and wonderfully and fearfully made. My mom never heard that from her own. So it came from within.
Wonderfully and fearfully made. She should have a podcast. She should just be reading. She should be at a library just reading books. She should be my lullaby before I go to bed tonight. When I have, we both have insomnia. When we have insomnia, Tanya should just read to us. Man, is her voice powerful. And I love that you and her, you had the kind of relationship with Tanya that you called her out. I remember we were playing the line game one day, and you called her out. Remember that years and years ago. Well, I love that you have the kind of relationship where you love your sisters, you hold them accountable, but things have kind of taken a twist. So before we talk about the reason you chose these two, I want to show Kanye's, and Kanye's was hard. I got to be honest with all of you folks. We were ready to post this at midnight. Every podcast we post, and it's ready to go at midnight. And at like 9 o'clock at night, Kanye reached out to our producer, Rob, and I, and was really scared. Her mother had listened to the podcast, and it triggered a bunch of stuff. Her mother's a refugee from Cambodia and the horrible genocide. So lovingly, without question, Rob said, we're gonna edit this. And we want this to be a love letter to your story. And if this is too complicated, we'll take some stuff out. So we took out some stuff to make Kanye's mom feel safe. But the stuff that we left in, oh my God, you're gonna need like a box of Kleenex. It's so good. So let's check out Kanye's. And on the other side of this, Tony, I want you to talk about why you chose both these young women to be part of your top three. I think the theme of survival and surviving is a constant in your life. Can you tell our listeners about your birth and being a survivalist from birth?
So my parents had to flee Cambodia in the late 1970s because of the communist regime. And they were on a campaign to mass murder any educated, any wealthy aristocrats, anybody who wore glasses, could speak a certain, or you're light skinned, they were targeted. They were mass murdered by the hands of, these Pol Pot regime communists. And they rape, they burn, they annihilate you, take out your organs, any kind of like horrific ways of killing. 3 million people perished at the hands of, hatred. And that's why I feel like I'm so lucky to be alive still. Because there's no way I could be here with the circumstances that I had to bear as a baby, because my mom didn't have enough to eat. And she was she had my sister who's older than me 1 year, and she was pregnant with me, and they walked all the way to Thailand to a refugee camp. They discovered that um I had tuberculosis at that time, so my lungs were not functioning, and I was severely malnutrition because lack of food. And so I was in the hospital with, strap with on my brain, I think my mom said. And she did.
Kanye is channeling her 10th Street. You talked about you and Donna living on 10th Street. Kanye lived on 10th Street. That was a tough interview, man. I cried the entire interview. Megan had written she could have listened to Tanya all day. I could have cried all day with Kanye, but why did you specifically choose these two beautiful women to round out your top three?
Um, Tanya talked about her mom breaking the cycle, and I feel like that really hits me hard. I feel like that's so important, and that's kind of in the core of what we try to do is just it's just being those cycle breakers. And we talk about how we can't always be responsible for the people that came before us, but we're definitely responsible for the people that come after us. If the people that come before us change and get better because of us, then that's fantastic. But somebody needs to be the one to change the cycle. Listening to Kanye speak and just thinking about like her mom having PTSD from surviving a genocide, for God's sakes, and being a refugee and coming to a completely different country where you don't speak the language and a lot of people don't want you there. And then after all that, still having to be a mom and having to be a positive influence on this little girl. Same thing with Tanya's mom is she was a single mom, and just growing up in like in North Long Beach in a tough neighborhood, and just having to just kind of rise. And it's like, okay, I have PTSD, I have all this stuff that I'm going through that I overcame, but I can't deal with that right now because I have this little girl that needs to be raised properly. And
Mm.
that's the thing that really gets me. And these are two amazing ladies, amazing females that grew up strong and just great because of these amazing moms that they had.
Well, they're both relying on their moms now, and their extended freedom rider family. Both Kanye and Tanya are in the throes of a cancer journey. Tanya just finished her sixth round and is going to have surgery 3 days after her birthday. Actually, 3 days before her birthday. And Kanya, that interview, that was 2 days after her first chemo treatment. She's just finished her third round, so that they're leaning on each other. And I want to thank all of you in this chat room who have helped them along this journey. There's so many of you who have donated to them. Thank you. They spent every single cent of what you donated to help them in this journey. They're both now part of the City of Hope, which is one of the most amazing cancer hospitals in the country, if not the world. So we thank all of you, and I thank you for just celebrating them. I think we might have a visitor. I think at our 4 o'clock, Kanya may come, which is amazing. She had chemo 3 days ago, and she said she wants to come in and be a part of our 4 o'clock. So if you want to see our beautiful girl, come back. Tony, you were so good. I think I want you to come back too. Like, push your arm. Can you come back?
Let's do it.
For any of you that are watching, I'm always envious that I can't just be in the chat room. I can't pat my tummy and my head at the same time, so I don't have that kind of talent to speak and type simultaneously. But I want to thank all of you that joined, are watching, who will watch later, all of you that have donated or will donate or have even given to our girls for their cancer journey. I thank you. Thank you, Dan Sackheim. I just got a card that said you donated. I thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you that find yourself missing being in a classroom, this can be your classroom today. We're coming back again at 4. And so come back and bring somebody or encourage somebody to be naughty with you in the chat room. Nicholas, welcome to our little family. We will get those books sent out to you, and we will encourage you to continue to write and tell your story. For all of you, we hope that you have the most amazing new year. We're going to start with hope and possibility and promise in the new year. And we'll have lots of top things that happen in 2025 to invite you back here all over again. So Tony, do you want to say anything to your Freedom Writer family who has joined from here and wide?
Just thank you guys for joining. We love doing these calls. I feel like it kind of keeps us going in between visits. We don't get to see each other in person as much as we would like. So these calls are important, and it just kind of it kind of fills my energy meter again to have all you guys here. So thank you so much.
Stacy just said, "Thank you for making me cry and smile for now." I know we kind of are extremists. We go for the cry that's the snort and the laugh that makes your face hurt. So if you need a good cry, a good cleanse, hydrate between now and 4 p.m. Pacific. Come right back here. Be here, be square. Bring your friends, bring your family. It is open to all. Have a very happy holiday season. Happy New Year. Thank you all for being our supporters. For those that have donated, you allow me to continue to give away books. You get a book and you get a book. Today, Nicholas, you get 2 books. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you this afternoon. Bye, everybody.